right, today's lesson is going to be a review of solving systems of equations using substitution. The next lesson is going to be about elimination, but for today we're just going to focus on substitution. So you can go ahead and copy down this information for your title page and your table of contents. And then this key concept you also want to put into your notebook, the steps to solve by substitution. All right, let's try a problem. So copy down the equations. X equals 3 minus y and 2x minus 2y equals 2. We're going to use the substitution method to solve the system. And so the first step was to solve, let's go back here and look, solve one equation for one of the variables. And if you look at this top equation, it is already solved for x. The second step then is to substitute into the second equation for this variable that we solve for. We solve for x, so we're going to put it in place of x. And we will rewrite that equation as 2 parentheses 3 minus y minus 2y equals 2. And then we could just use our algebraic skills to solve for y. Distribute. So you get 6 minus 2y minus 2y equals 2. Combine like terms. So 6 minus 4y equals 2. And now we will subtract 6 from both sides. Negative 4y equals negative 4. And then divide both sides by negative 4. So your answer for y is 1. Now remember when we were doing graphing in tables, we had 2 answers. And the same applies for substitution in that we do need 2 answers. The way we get our second answer is you take this answer, y equals 1, and we will substitute it back into the equation that we originally circled. So we will say x equals 3 minus 1. And by looking at that, we can say that x equals 2. So our solution, if you write it as a coordinate point, would be 2, 1. That also means if we were to graph these equations, on the graph they would cross at the point 2, 1. All right, let's try the next equations. Now this one is a little bit more complicated because we don't have one of the equations solved for a variable. And so we have to decide which equation are we going to use. And let's use the top equation because it has x with a coefficient of 1. And so this will be an easier equation to get into x equals format. We could get it x equals or we could get y equals, but since x is all alone or doesn't have a coefficient, it's better to use it that way. So x plus 3y equals negative 3. Drop down our line and minus 3y from both sides. So x equals negative 3y minus 3. Those are not like terms, so we couldn't combine them together. Now that we have x equals, we can substitute this into the other equation for x. And we will rewrite that as 4, replace x with minus 3y minus 3. And then you continue writing plus 3y equals 6. Okay, we just solved this now by distributing. Negative 12y minus 12 plus 3y equals 6. Then we'll combine our like terms and make negative 9y minus 12 equals 6. Drop down our line and add 12. Negative 9y equals 18. And divide by negative 9. So y equals negative 2. Again, we have one solution. And to figure out the other part of our answer, we are going to put it into our circled equation. So we'll say x equals negative 3, what our answer was for y, which was 2, minus 3. So negative 3 times 2 is negative 6 minus 3, which is negative 9. So the coordinate point answer for this one would be -9, comma 2. All right, let's take a look then at a word problem and how this would apply. So Lancaster's Woodworkers Furniture Store builds two types of wooden outdoor chairs. Rocking chairs sell for $265, and Adirondack chairs with footstool sell for $320. The book shows that last month the business earned $13,930 for 48 outdoor chairs sold. How many of each chair were sold? Okay, so we need to start by using some labels. Let's say that X is the rocking chairs and Y is Adirondack chairs. So if we say the number of rocking chairs plus Adirondack chairs, that would total 48 outdoor chairs. So you write one equation for the quantities being sold. Then we write an equation for including the amount of money. So it would be $265 for every rocking chair plus $320 for every Adirondack chair. And that would be the total income of $13,930. Okay, now we have our system of equations. We can solve this either for X or for Y. All the other equations, we've solved them for Y first. So let's take this equation and minus Y. And so now we have X equals 48 minus Y. And we can substitute this in for X. Oh, I guess I'm doing it the same way that we did it last time. You could have solved it for Y and substituted in for Y, but we'll just do it this way. Either way works. So 265, fill in for X, 48 minus Y, plus 320Y equals 13,930. Okay, let me move these boxes out of the way. Okay, and then we'll continue solving this by distributing. So 265 times 48, that's 12,720 minus 265y, and then continue copying down the rest of the equation. And we'll combine like terms. So our y terms will be 55y. 13,930 is what it equals. Drop down our line, subtract 12,720. And we get 55y equals 1210. Divide by 55. And the number of chairs is 22. So how many of each chair were sold? The Adirondack chairs were 22. And so now we can substitute 22 in for y. And we get that there are 26 rocking chairs. So our answer is 26 rocking. And 22 Adirondack chairs. Okay, that concludes our lesson for substitution. Tomorrow we'll go over elimination, which is another method to be able to solve the same type of equations.